Good afternoon, everyone. I believe you are all fine. Good afternoon. It's quite a sunny afternoon here in Nairobi. And welcome to our today's virtual talk. My name is Richard Kipngeno, the Budding and Membership Officer at Nature Kenya, and I will be moderating this talk that has been organized by our youth committee. And the title for today is Safeguarding the Present and Future of Wetland Habitats, the nature-based conservation approaches. And our presenter today is Lydia Kalekye from our youth committee. So I urge every one of you that we give the speaker the ample time to take us through the talk. And if we have any question, we can raise them through the chat box. If you have any comment, any compliment, or any question, any concern, you can raise them there. And then after the presentation, the speaker will be able to go through all of them. Also, to let you know that this talk is recorded, and after the presentation, we will be able to upload it in our YouTube channel. And during your own free time, if you want to revisit, you are free to do so. So just a quick introduction of our speaker today. Lydia is a nature enthusiast and a Rotaractor in Eco Warriors Club and the Mother Club Rotary Club of Lavington. She has based conservation efforts in different fronts as a volunteer, including Friends of Ondiri Wetland, Kenya, and March for Our Planet, and as a Rotaractor. Her focus is in Sustainable Development Goal, SDG number 13, the climate action, though she finds herself in other SDGs since most of them cut across. She is the coordinator for March for Our Planet since last year, May 2022, and the current treasurer for Friends of Ondiri Wetland. So ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome our speaker today, Madam Lydia Kalekye, to take us through. Welcome, Lydia.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and it's such an honor and a great privilege to be here today and to discuss the importance and the nature of the wetlands in the country. And thank you for the introduction. So we start with what are wetlands and what is the state of the wetlands in the country. So actually, when you look at right now, most wetlands are dry. You look at Ewasonyiro and so many other rivers and wetlands and swamps and even oceans. Even lakes have started to dry in small sections. And for example, yesterday I went to Ondiri Wetland. Ondiri Wetland is in Kikuyu, and a lot of water has gone down. We don't have enough water in the swamp. And the farmers, because they've been using the water for agricultural purposes, we don't have enough of it. And you can see that the pipes they can't reach the water. So you look at it and you're like, these wetlands are really, really drying. And it is because of the current drought that we've been experiencing because of the prolonged dry seasons that the country has been experiencing. And that is, of course, triggered by the climate crisis that we are facing right now. A lot of deforestation has been happening and so many other activities that have been happening and are affecting the wetlands directly. So currently, the state of the wetlands in Kenya is wanting, and it is actually a responsibility of not just the government, but also the public, the general public, to protect the wetlands. And according to me, one of the reasons that our wetlands are drying and we are losing a lot of biodiversity. And you know, when they dry, we lose a lot of biodiversity. We don't have enough water. That brings human-wildlife conflict. Because, for example, you're looking at the hippos that use that water and they stay in those waters. They don't have enough food because we don't have enough grass along the places that they feed on. So they are going to people's farmlands and they are really causing harm, eating their the crops that they've planted in their pieces of land. That is in turn bringing a lot of chaos and conflict. So you look at the wetlands, and when you think about conservation of wetlands, it's actually a whole thing that it's actually a whole cycle. If you don't protect wetlands, you don't protect communities, you don't have enough, you don't have health even in people's places. So it's really wanting. And actually 10 years ago, when you look at how wetlands were, they were not as bad as today, because climate change takes time. It is slow, but the impact is bad. It hits so hard. And the wetlands, the way they were those days, it was not as bad as today. We didn't have a lot of rivers drying, and when they dried, the drought was not that wrong, and it used to come back. But these days, it's really bad. And actually, the government has taken time, it has taken resources, and so many other things to restore the wetlands that have dried, and even to make sure that the ones that are there are really going on well, and the resources are still there. And they have gone to put up policies and frameworks to make sure that our wetlands are safeguarded. And they are also in partnership, and also in partnership with the UN organizations and bodies. And that is where they have made agreements together, and the agreements like UNCBD, UNFCCC, and so many others, to make sure that wetlands are protected in the country. And also, and the agencies that we have in the country talk about them, talk about KFS, WRA, that is Water Resource Authority. We have those sections, like we have those departments. Look at the RUAS, Water Resource Users Association. So the role of these organizations or these small institutions is to safeguard wetlands. For example, Arua comprises of members of the community of a certain area, and these people are there as the scouts. They do the community policing, and their role is to make sure that we don't have a lot of obstruction. No one is cutting down trees that are planted along the wetlands. No one is planting eucalyptus and so many other things. But when you look at it keenly, we don't have enough resources to make sure that these institutions are running. So there's a very, very big gap when it comes to conservation, looking at it at a junior level like RUAS. We don't have enough resources. We don't have enough capacity building. Not all of them know what they are supposed to do, where they're supposed, like the scope of the work. And also looking at the community forest associations. These are associations that are made it's like, let me say, it's a baby of KFS, Kenya Forest Service. And for them, they are also community policing. And what they do really is to make sure that the forests are safeguarded. And of course, they are made up from communities that live adjacent to the forest. And looking at them also, we have so many gaps, even in the institutions of CFA. And it is similar with RUAS. And you know, we ask ourselves as a person, what is my responsibility when it comes to protecting, you know, wetlands from forest? Because of course, water comes from the catchment areas. So my responsibility as a person is to make sure that I join the RUAS, I join the CFAs, and I help them. If I have a knowledge or a skill in doing something, I help them to deliver. And the other thing is, when we are in a community forest association or a RUA, our responsibility is in an organization level is to make sure that we upscale, you know, the nature-based solutions, because one of the problems that we have, or the challenges, is one, resources. So how do you tackle the issues of limited resources? You allow regeneration of nature, like natural, like biodiversity. For example, we've been having a lot of forest fires and wetland fires. I'm talking about, for example, Undiri got burnt just the other day. And last month, it got burnt like 3/4 of the swamp. We are having forest fires, like in the Abadia is actually was on fires. And how do we make sure that, as much as at a local level, we don't have a lot. What are we supposed to do? So I myself, I'm an advocate of nature-based solutions, and we actually allow natural region. We don't dump plant anything. You allow nature to regenerate. The other one, you allow the growth of the indigenous trees or the vegetation that is supposed to grow. You also work with other organizations that are really, like we call them sister organizations, that are really helping to upscale the conservation of nature. And of course, you protect the aquatic life and allow them to grow. Yeah, that's it for now.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lydia, for that quick introduction about the wetlands and how the responsibilities that we have to take to conserve them. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is more of an interaction, no one-on-one, like question and answer session to the speaker about today's topic on safeguarding the present and the future of wetlands. And I open this floor to you. If you have any question that you want to interact with the speaker, if you have any question that you want to ask, we feel free and we raise it up. But the floor is yours.
Lydia, that was a very interesting talk. And I wondered if you could perhaps elaborate a little bit more of allowing so for instance, if there's been a forest fire and you want things to start growing, but when there's a drought, how do you help that process? So for instance, with the Aberdares, where you've had a recent forest fire, and we know that there's a lack of water, how can we help nature along the way? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Margaret, for that question. So when this crisis happens, for example, the forest fires, as you've mentioned, and we don't have rains, we cannot plant trees when we don't have rains, because anyway, it is not sustainable and they will not grow. So the first thing that we do is research for us to understand what has been lost in the fire. And of course, we have a map of the place that has got burnt, so that come that time that we are going to receive rains, we will know what you're supposed to plant. And again, allowing natural regeneration. You see, we have some seeds that for the seed dormancy to be broken, the seeds have to be burnt. And of course, not all of them, but we understand that, you see, it is like, let me use the phenomena that we have, like in my country, Kenya here. You see, when someone burns charcoal, when someone wants charcoal from trees and they burn trees to make charcoal, after the process of removing the charcoal, like 1 week or 2 weeks later, and it rains, you find that we have a lot of tree seedlings coming out of that place that the charcoal was burnt from. That tells you, if a forest is burnt down accidentally or in any way, and then it rains again, it is going to regenerate. So the first thing that we do when we have crises like forest fires and wetland fires is research, so that we can understand what was lost in the fire. And of course, we can have informed decisions when we are doing restoration afterwards. I hope I've answered your question, Margaret, but if not, kindly let me know.
No, that was a very good answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Yes, Caro, you have a question? Caro, are you trying to raise a question?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Lydia. That was a nice talk. So my question is, you are based on Bire Swamp. which conservation measures have you taken in conserving the Odile swamp? And so, how or maybe how is the progress? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carol. So I joined Friends of Ondiri late 2021, around the month of October. And I found that the organization had moved. Actually, they had moved because actually Friends of Ondiri was registered around 2016. And the reason the organization was formed is to bring community together, like the local community together to protect the wetland, because the wetland was drying, the wetland was going through a lot of pollution. They didn't have enough, actually not enough. They had a lot of water, but the water was not clean. That is why the organization was formed. So personally, at a personal level, what I have done, because I have been a volunteer ever since, until I was elected as a treasurer. And what I've done as a volunteer is I've involved other organizations, for example, Nature Kenya, and we have several organizations to come and help in monitoring, that is research and monitoring, of course, reporting, because that time we did not know exactly which biodiversity do we have at Ondiri Swamp. So we have that database. The other one is growing trees, not planting trees, growing trees. Unfortunately, we have, of course, when you're dealing with natural resources, there are those issues like small fights with the local community, and these fights do not come like directly. You find that you've planted a tree somewhere, someone came and uprooted. You've planted a tree somewhere and someone came and maybe it was even stepped on. But these challenges are coming because we had not implemented, actually we had not even validated our management plan. We had it, but it was not validated, it was not implemented, and yeah, all that. But at a personal level, I've done research. So right now, it is going to be easier to do conservation at Ondiri because we are coming from an informed point of view. At least we know what we don't have and what we have. And so far, so good. We are doing nature-based solutions. We are going to start next month by Youth for Nature. And actually that is actually an upper hand, and it's actually a very, very good trajectory when it comes to at an organization level, because you're going to be able to work with the youth. We are going to upscale the youth leadership. We are going to do storytelling. We are going to upscale the nature-based solutions that we've been trying to do, but it hasn't been possible because, for example, we don't have a lot of resources. So having Youth for Nature come on board is going to be positive, and we are looking forward to it. And of course, more things are coming, and we are going to do the monitoring of the growth of the tree species that we've planted. We are going to do a monitoring of how many have survived, what species do we have, and of course be able to implement the recommendations that we have found after a research activity, for example, of birds. We know the birds that we have here and how many birds we are supposed to have, because you see this one is a wetland and we have expectations because it's actually a wetland. It's supposed to have a lot. So if we understand why we are not having a particular type of bird, a particular type of anything, we are going to be able to maybe plant a tree, start just something. We are going to come from a point of view. So right now, that's what I've done, and I'm looking forward to do more. Thank you. So if I've not answered, please, Carol, come back again.
All right, thank you. You've answered.
Hey, thank you very much, Carol, for that question. And thank you, Lydia, for answering it. There is a question that has come through the chat box from Anthony Mokaya. He's saying, nice insight. We have seen the challenge around land resources use. So one, what are the known wetland areas which we need to create awareness for conservation? That's his question number one. And secondly, the Yala swamp and the dominion cases on the multinational community interest versus local community shows that government does not take seriously the issue of wetlands. How do we encourage the local communities to conserve wetlands when they seemingly favor private investors? Lydia, do you want to mention something?
Yeah, let me mention something and about the wetland areas that needs conservation. Looking at it right now, like today in February, today like 28th, looking at the state of the wetlands in the country. Actually, let me say all of them. None has been left. All of them have been affected. And how have they been affected? And that is how you're able to come up with something called like a problem tree, just knowing where is this problem exactly coming from. So these wetlands are drying. Apart from drying, look at Nairobi River, it's a wetland. It is not even a river. It can be called a river. It's like a plastic river. It's not a water river anymore. So the wetlands that are supposed to be protected and rehabilitated are actually the ones that, okay, let me bring it down. You know, priority comes in when you look at the kind of the problem that you have and the magnitude of the problem. And looking at the water levels and the water quality issue, look at the catchment areas. Do we have enough forest? Do we have enough tree cover in our forest? Do we have enough vegetation cover to make sure that the riparian lands and the riparian areas are okay? So if they are not okay, what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to do a farmer sensitization. Where is the problem exactly? So most of the wetlands are at the verge of just collapsing, but of course we are hoping that when the rains come, it's going to be regenerated. So wetlands that are supposed to be restored are the ones that, actually all of them, any wetland that has an issue, please, wherever you are, make sure that you do something. And of course, we start from like waste management and also making sure that the catchment is restored. And of course, so many other things. The other one is the other swamp and the Dominion farms. I have been to Dominion farm. It was just chaotic because I see the development. So looking at it from an environment perspective, I know that development is supposed to happen, but still we cannot compromise the integrity of our environment and the wetlands, because anyway, wetlands are the kidneys. And without water, we cannot do anything. Without water, our hippos cannot drink anything. Without water, our fish are going to die. Without water, we can't have birds. Like we can't have tourism. Like it's a whole economy collapsing, you see? So when we talk about these swamps, we have a problem because, you know, there are things that are beyond a community level. They are at a national and even at international level. So as much as we are doing development, and this advice would actually go to the government and the implementing agencies of these development issues, is to make sure that as much as we want to develop, let's not develop at the heart, you know, looking at wetlands and other ecosystems and making sure that we diminish them, because it's like living in, you know, in a desert, as, you know, making a place desert when you know that you had, you know, an oasis somewhere and you buried it with sand because someone wanted to build that, to build up maybe as a building. It's not even making sense. So as much as development is happening, it's not advisable to do development, and you know, it's supposed to be like a win-win thing. Yeah, we do development, but still we make sure that we protect the ecosystems that you're having. Because, like, for example, let me give you an example with Ondiriso, because I've been there during the construction of the Southern Bypass, and I thank God that Bob Gashero is here. He's a colleague. During the construction of the Southern Bypass, a lot of water was abstracted from Ondiri Swamp. And of course, apart from water, we had a lot of debris that was deposited in Nyongara River. Nyongara River is the outlet of Ondiri Swamp. Now that is the river that flows to Nairobi River. So, you know, as much as the Southern Bypass was made, you know, yeah, we have development, it's beautiful and it's very fast from, you know, JKIA. But look at the environment. How was it left? We left it at the verge of dying. Right now, the river is actually no more. And we need a lot of work, and a lot of money has to be invested, therefore, for us to make sure that the river is flowing again. You see, that's not development, because I believe that debris would have been deposited somewhere else, and the water that was abstracted, at least we would be able to make sure that it was able to like win-win. Like, yeah, they have abstracted water, but what have they given us? Have they helped us to to grow trees? Have they helped us to do something? Have they helped the upper catchment areas? Like our water comes from, it's through underground. And of course, part of it comes from Manguo swamp. So have they gone to Manguo? Have they gone to Aberdare Regis to help the Gator Forest, the community forest associations to make sure that their tree nursery are doing well, so that we can have water downstream? And downstream, I mean Nairobi River, because of course our water comes from the catchment area. So as much as development is happening, it is happening at the expense of conservation. And it's something that it's very broad, and that one it's just the government and the international spaces that can come on board and at least help us to do something. Yeah, I hope I've answered it.
And thank you very much, Lydia, for that insightful response. So any other person with a question, you can raise your hand or you can unmute and ask your question. I see Margaret, you have something to add?
So, yeah, Lydia, can you tell us a little bit more about how you get the local communities engaged? Because it's so important for them to feel included. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret, for coming back with that question. So for the local communities, one, for you to be able to engage the local communities, one, you of course you look at how are they coming in resource management, because it's actually a multi-stakeholder management of resources for us to get results. Because if today I am a manager somewhere and I am not considering that person who is cooking for me in the kitchen, or who is making sure that we have the office is clean, it's not going to work, because one day I'm going to have a meeting and the office is going to be dirty. So we need these local communities. So we make sure that we go to them, we call them for community forums, and we discuss. Like, it's not us telling them what we need to do, it is us asking them, what do they need us to do? How can we come together and do this work as a team? So we involve schools, the public schools and the private schools. We involve the communities through like sending letters and inviting them even in chief barazas, that is the local administration. And of course, we invite them in spaces like this, in talks like this, so that we can be able to at least come at par. The other thing, when we are holding these the public events, like for example, World Wetlands Day, those days of conservation of environment, we make sure that the community is there, so that anything that is going to be passed, any information that they need to hear, anything that they need to do or to change, they will understand they will know from those spaces. So that's how we involve them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lydia. Any other question from the audience? Yes, Caro.
Okay, Lydia, I'm concerned about the invasive species in our wetlands. I'm very close to Manguo, that is a seasonal wetland. It is really dry and it's on fire right now. And when I was talking to a community member, he told me that someone started the fire so that they can do away with the current grass. So is it a good way, or which way should we maybe consider maybe doing away with the invasive species?
Thank you, Clara, for coming back with that question. So invasive species are something else, because they make sure that they compete with the other crops, or like the other plants, the trees and everything that we have. But it is not the best mechanism for eliminating them. So what we do is, one, we can uproot them. That is one way. And actually, I had not known Manguo is on fire. Which Manguo are you talking about? The one in Nyahururu or the one in Limuru?
The one in Limuru.
The one in Limuru.
Yeah.
But still, we don't have, like right now, I know it hasn't been raining, and I passed through that place and I was like, it is actually a football pitch. People are using it as a football pitch. So these invasive species, You know, we see them, yeah, during the rainy season, of course, during the dry season. So the reason we should not eliminate them like that is one, because you see right now it is very hot. So when you start a fire, of course, it's going to be a very, very big fire, especially now with a lot of winds and sun. So one, it's not the best one. Some people eliminate invasive species through burning, but still, you know, when you look at burning, how many things are you going to burn? You're going to burn the invasive species itself. That is one. You're going to burn the organisms that are inside that soil, the small ants. You're going to burn the soil. What are you doing? It's not the right thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but still it depends. But right now, I can't advise somebody to light a fire to remove like a species of something, especially because of the season that we are right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the response. Yeah, indeed, our wetlands are really drying up. I remember some few months ago, the Manguo ponds, which Caro is mentioning, has been one of our budding hotspots with lots of water birds, but at the moment it's entirely dry, very dusty. So any other question from the audience? Maybe through the chat box, or you can just unmute and ask. Okay, if there is none, actually this particular month of February, on 2nd of February, it was World Wetlands Day. It was an international day to, you know, recognize and speak up for our wetlands. And I will also maybe request our colleague, John Mwacharo, our communications coordinator, to share for us. We have the Nature Matters series that we're also featuring wetlands. Maybe you can share the link so that you can also watch more insights about wetlands and their conservation. Maybe Mwacharo, you can do that. And as I also told you from the beginning that this forum, this particular talk has been organized by our Nature Kenya Youth Committee, and the representatives are also here, and I will invite the chairperson, Jacinta, to just tell us who the youth committee are, what they are doing, and also to invite you to join them. Jacinta, if you can hear me, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Richard, for giving me this time. Let me just put my video on. Hi, everyone. My name is Jacinta. I'd just like to thank you first, all of you, for coming to this presentation. A special thank you to Lydia for taking us to that informative presentation. There's a lot of work to be done when it comes to wetlands. There's a lot of different things happening in different lakes, in different wetlands. And I think combining all this information is going to help those people who are working in these different sectors to come up with solutions that fit the different areas. Yeah. So as Richard said, I'm the chairperson, the current chairperson of the youth committee. The youth committee is one of the working groups of Nature Kenya. We've been engaged in different activities, but the main thing for us is that we want the youth to be engaged in nature, in things that involve conservation, protecting, preserving our natural resources. It doesn't matter what your interest is, whether you're interested in reptiles, whether you're interested in amphibians, but because we do not do research, most of our work revolves around education. Because we believe the group, we believe that in order to drive the change that we want in conservation, we need to involve the people who are directly living, who are using these resources. So one of the major things that we do is education. We have an education awareness program where we go to different institutions. Last year we went to 2 high schools, to 2 universities, we're still exploring more universities especially within Nairobi and its environs. So if number one, you would like to be part of this awareness program, feel free to reach out to us, write to us through the email. Number two, if you would like us to visit your school or any school that you feel will benefit from this education program, this institution awareness program, you can also write to us on the same. So number two, what we have is we also organize trips within Nairobi and the its environs. So these trips are hikes, have walks. They give us an opportunity to network with different people who are working in the different spaces in the environment sector, in the conservation sector. The good thing about the youth committee, let me say, is you'll find people working in communication in environment. You'll also find other people working in fundraising in conservation. You find people who are working as wildlife ecologists, wildlife biologists in their early careers. So it's a very good platform to network. So maybe just to mention one last thing that we do. We also have a children's biology program, which we started last year. So this program basically gives children from, let me not use underprivileged, but maybe children who are not able to come to the snake park or to the museum or to go to the city park. Children who are not able to go to these green spaces, maybe because their parents are not able to finance it, or maybe they can't do it. Their relatives can help them, or their schools doesn't organize such kind of trips. So the children's program starts with CDOs around Nairobi and its environs. So if you have a group that is the environment and you'd like us to expose the children more, you can talk to us and we can organize that. But for you to take part, our activities are open to members and non-members, but I believe that if you want to make the most out of all that you have, it would be much better to join as a member. So our membership is annual. So as long as you're a member of Nature Kenya, you're open to joining the youth committee or any other committee that is under Nature Kenya. So once you Nature Kenya, I can give that information about the cost of joining. There are also benefits, of course, as being part of the Nature Kenya group membership team. So that is just from me. I hope to see you at least 1 or 2 join us as our members, maybe 5, if it's not too much to ask. Thank you very much, Lydia. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Jacinta, for letting us know who the Youth Committee for Nature Kenya are and the excellent job that they are doing in spreading the conservation word out there, actually in the grassroots. And I encourage everyone, all our members who are here, that if you would like to join the Youth Committee, always reach us in the office and we will connect you to Jacinta and the team, and you walk together the conservation journey. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost at the tail end of our today's talk, but there is a question that came when Jacinta was giving her final remarks from Alex Utami. And I think it will be worth maybe airing it so that Lydia can respond to it. Alex is asking, which measures have you put in place to avoid overuse of waters from wetlands by the communities? For example, watering of vegetables. Maybe Lydia, you can respond.
Thank you for that question again, and thanks for coming back. So when it comes to irrigation, we'd encourage drip irrigation. But the problem comes in because of the infrastructure that has to be put up in place for someone to be able to install drip irrigation. And most of the time, you cannot be able to control it, how they use. You can only be able to control the use of the water, like the amount of water someone can use through permits. Like they cannot use a pump that is not permitted by WRA. And now that comes back to the government, like the role of the government in conservation of wetlands or water resources. But at an organizational level, of course, we work with the local government to make sure that they come in handy. When we are working with this community, they come and sensitize them. And of course, they help them to understand why they need to have regulated farms. The other one is, of course, continuous sensitization, and of course, leading by example. So if you're doing something that is not supposed to do, and you cannot preach water and drink wine, at least you do what you say. But most of these things, they come back to the government, and it is their role, because water resources are managed by the government. They believe that's a government resource. So that's what they do. That's what they do. And before the talk ends, I need to say something that I forgot to say. So we are in this decade called the UN Ecosystem Restoration Decade, and it is running. It was launched and it's running between 2021 and 2030. So which year are we now? We are in 2023. So when it comes to ecosystem restoration decade, it is something that was formed to make sure that the loss of ecosystems and the degradation of ecosystems is halted, it is stopped, it is prevented, and at least people are able to adapt to the current crisis that we are having as a result of ecosystem degradation. So as part of the activities that we do as environmentalists, we make sure that we are able to align ourselves with the UN Ecosystem Restoration Decade, and we are able to do activities according to what is supposed to be said. So the other point is we have a platform called Africa Eco Voices. It is a platform that is it was made to make sure that we have reporting, like we have documentation, like something is like, if today I plant a tree and I go back there 2 weeks and I find that the tree is growing, it is going well, so I can post it there. So when you post it on their website, let me write the website. The website is www.africa. Let me just write on the charts. Please check it out. I know it's let me see, www. Where is it? .africa. So after this, you can join it and at least be able to amplify the voices of conservation, and of course be able to follow up, and of course join the other people who are doing this we call it post-mortem of the activities that you've already do in regards to nature conservation. So I think that's it, not unless we have another question that is coming.
Thank you very much, Lydia, for that. And also, my colleague John Mwacharo has already shared the Nature Matters series about wetlands. Maybe, yeah, the link is there already in the chat box. You can visit and learn more about the current conservation, the current challenges our wetlands are facing, and the proper measures to avert the same. And as we come to a close of today's virtual talk, I also welcome you to our normal bird walks. Tomorrow we are here at the Nairobi National Museum, and the following week on Wednesday, that will be on 8th, yes, we will be at Ondiri Swamp. So Lydia will be our host, and it will also be nice to catch up and have a one-on-one chat with her in her playground. She said that she's from Ondiri Swamp. So yeah, so karibuni sana, and you all have a good afternoon. Thank you very much.